Do you see him being able to anything to sustain what he did last year at all?
Well, I mean, I look, it's a lot. Brian, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. So, I think that, like I wouldn't hold on somebody like Eric Stahl after what he's done the last couple of years here. I would not take anything away from him. But 42 goals is a lot of goals for anybody in this league these days, let alone somebody that's just a year older and is soon to be mid-30s here. But I think that he's still going to be a good player. I mentioned this. I was with Boudreau at the airport, coincidentally going to the draft, chat with him there, and we happened to run into Eric Stahl.
Really?
And Eric and his whole family, the brothers and the wives were all going to Scottsdale for a golf outing. And I just honestly, like I said to Boudreau right there, I'm like, the guy looks like he's 25 years old. It's crazy. How well of shape he keeps in. It's like the fountain of youth. He looks young, and so I think he's not going to just come back here and suddenly become old. But look, if he gets continued minutes that he's getting, he's playing with good players like Granlund and Zucker, he's going to get his.
How many? Anybody have an abacus? How many name drops we had in that last little bit? Was it like 4 or 5? Anybody
started
out
with
of
Brian.
fingers, pull off your shoes and count toes? That was pretty good. Yeah, starting with Brian, absolutely. What's your guess as far as wild lines as of today?
Zucker, Granlund, and Stahl. Stahl in the middle, obviously. Parisi, Koivu, and either Niederreiter or Greenway. If Greenway makes the team, Boudreau is going to start him on that line and see if he can play right wing. Third line will be Greenway and or Niederreiter with Eriksson, Ek, and Coyle. And the last line will be Foligno with Eric Fair and JT Brown / Hendricks. So those will be the lines if they're healthy, at least to start camp. Defense pairs will be really depending on Suter's health, but it'll be Suter and I guess Dumba. Maybe ends up being Spurgeon, but it'll start with Dumba. Brodin and Spurgeon and or Dumba, then Sealer and Patterin, and then the so-called fourth defense pair in camp will be Prosser and Olofsson. That's an educated guess.
I know these things can be hard to measure and they change, but what do you feel like Boudreau's relationship with Suter and Parisi is?
Well, Suter, I think he's real tight with, and I mean, like you said, things can change, but I think all three are just coming into this season really intent on on kind of picking up where the three of them left off. I mean, remember Suter was playing great hockey when he got hurt. Parisi was playing the best hockey, frankly, I mean, since early in his Wild career. Had 12 goals from March 1st to April 2nd. He had 3 goals in all 3 playoff games that he played. And that's what Boudreau's hoping from Zach is to, pick up where he left off. And if he can, that'd be an unbelievable coup.
How's Bruce's mood?
Bruce's mood right now is good, other than I chatted with him also right after I talked to Suter that day at the South Bend airport, and Bruce was, what is the deal with all your colleagues picking us to miss the playoffs? So, I mean, he's getting a little perturbed at the lack of respect that they're getting, but, look, I mean, Bruce should be used to that. That just seems to always be kind of the case that Minnesota is, and yet at the end of the year, every time Bruce coaches, he's coached a team to over 100 points. That's just the way that Boudreau does it. Last year, they were unbelievably decimated by injuries, and yet they still, it might have been one of Bruce's best coaching jobs, if you think about it, for a team that on the third game, lost Parisi right in training camp, had Granlund hurt the day before training camp, and Granlund come into training camp hurt. Game 3, lose Foligno, Coyle, and Niederreiter, to the point that Niederreiter wound up playing hurt all year, and Coyle missed a month from there. And then obviously you don't get Boudreau, you don't get Parisi back until the new year, and then all of a sudden you lose Suter, you lose Spurgeon, and you lose Parisi in the playoffs. So I mean, for him to do the job that he did last year, it's a pretty good coaching job.
Let's continue on that theme. I have a thought I want to bring up, bounce off you. I do want to thank Whizkids.tech, WHIZKIDS.tech. They are a Minneapolis company, Minneapolis startup that is doing very well. Michael Thanert is their CEO. He's joined on the network as sponsoring multiple shows, and it's computer stuff, so I have trouble explaining it, so I'm just going to tell you what they say about it. They're a full-spectrum managed service provider. They act as your chief technology ally. They're a crew of close-knit people who love tech. They know a thing or two about closing tickets, monitoring systems, and getting to the heart of the problem. They deal with IT services, unified communications, and cloud services. Check out Whizkids.tech.
Hello, Minnesota sports fans. This is Michael Thanert, founder and CEO of Whizkids. Whizkids is a Minneapolis-based managed IT, hosted VoIP, and cloud services provider. Businesses today require fast response times, skilled support staff, clear communication, and technology recommendations that align with their business goals. At Whizkids, we do this each and every day with our clients. When you call into our help desk for support or work with one of our higher-level engineers on a complex issue, you'll find our staff personable and ready to roll up their sleeves to help you solve your technology problems. Reach out to Whizkids today to find out how we can help your business meet your technology goals. Visit us online at Whizkids.tech. That's Whizkids.tech. Whizkids, make it happen.
So, the interactions I have with Wild fans, they sound very pessimistic right now. And a lot of that is based on, hey, haven't won a cup, don't see a cup in the near future. The flip side of that is, this has been, and I don't want to sound like LaPanta, but I'm going to sound a little like LaPanta here. This has been a very competitive team. It has been a team that has made the playoffs as much as or more as the most Western Conference. So, there is a flip side of this. They're not a bad team. They're a frustrating team.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, anybody that reads you in the Strip every day knows how big a show you are for the Wild.
I'm always here for them.
But yeah, I mean, look, I get it. I think a lot of people expected some bold moves coming into the offseason and feel like, all right, no bold moves were made. So we've all seen the way that this book ends, and it usually ends with a first-round exit. So, but you're right. I mean, they've been a competitive team. They've made the playoffs 6 years in a row. The hope is that they could do it again and then figure it out, whether it's whether it's in-season trades or just the luck of the draw of burying some of their chances or getting the right opponent in the playoffs. And then maybe you can go on a bit of a run here. I know it sounds foolish because they went to the Stanley Cup final, but I still feel that Vegas was absolutely the Wild's best bet in the playoffs. Now, that's with Suter in there. When I kept on saying that last year, I never knew that Spurgeon was going to freaking tear his hamstring in half and that Suter was going to suffer an injury that no professional athlete suffers. So maybe it would have been a first-round exit again. But when the Wild were completely healthy, I still think that that the Wild could have gotten it done in the playoffs and against a better opponent than Vegas. I mean, Winnipeg, let's be honest, the Wild were not winning that series even if they were completely healthy. And we saw why. I mean, guys like Scheifele and Byfuglien and Wheeler, these are absolute studs. And the Wild did a good job in that series against the Kyle Connors of the world, and Nikolai Ehlers was absolutely invisible in the series. But their stars beat them up, and it was because they had guys like Carson Soucy and playing in over his head, and Brodin and Dumba started suddenly getting elevated minutes that they were not used to against that line. I mean, it was just, it was like a lion going after a couple poachers.
Heck, no reaction?
Yeah,
no standing ovation for that?
I think everybody fell asleep.
That was unscripted Russo. Hey, that was almost mediocre. That was awesome.
I didn't say it as well. I need Brian to have the microphone here. Brian will get you all laughing. We should have Brian.
There's a microphone right there. Brian can just walk over and pick up the microphone.
We should honestly
hire
him as like a warm-up act. We get everybody, you see when you go to a talk show, like Fallon or something.
Yeah, but you know what you have to be really careful with? You ever go to a show, like a concert, and the first band goes out and they kill it, and then the headliner comes on and you're like, oh, crap. Oh, man, let's beat traffic, honey. Yeah. Let's go.
So I have a friend that's going to OAR tonight in Raleigh, and it's apparently storming in Raleigh, and he wants me to ask my quote-unquote sources if the concert's going to happen, and he will not.
Sounds like a reasonable request.
Yeah. So, I mean, should I send the bass player a text and ask for him real quick?
Yes,
you know
should do
Benji,
that.
right?
Yeah,
oh, no,
I've met him. I can't say I know him.
Okay.
Back to hockey, if we may. We've touched on the Dumba and Zucker deals.
I've had way too much coffee. I need like a water like you can't even imagine.
No, you mean like a hose?
Yeah.
We've touched on the Dumba and Zucker deals, but let's wrap it up in kind of one package here. Now that both deals are done and we know what they are, tell me what you think of them.
So I was walking here real quick. I didn't hear any of what you just said.
Yeah, I know.
But I was
when you ever.
So I spent all afternoon at Starbucks writing my mailbag, and then so I'm thinking to myself as I'm walking past Starbucks a second time, I'm like debating: do I get another Americano? Do I get another Americano? And I decided, no, I'm going to be smart, not give myself a heart attack. But then I couldn't get out of my head that I didn't get that Americano, so I stopped at Whole Foods and got an Americano. And I'm telling you that this Americano is like spiked with like something.
Coffee?
Probably. A little too much. Today was double star days too, so yeah, it was I had a good day at Starbucks, actually, about 50 stars. So what was the question about Dumba?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. Can you buy a casket with all your points?
Yes. We should get like a funeral parlor to sponsor us, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. You could wear the shirt around. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was asking.
Thanks.
He's not paying attention.
I didn't know I had to get some napkins for Vicky.
Dumba and Zucker.
Yeah.
Tell me about the deals.
Didn't we talk about that?
Well, we kind of talked about it here and there. We didn't really get deep into the Zucker. I didn't think so. Now that
we never actually mentioned Zucker last. It was like the day that Zucker signed was like the day of our last podcast or something. So we never actually
we kind of missed it. So now's your chance.
The Zucker deal. I mean, actually, look, he got more than market value. He was asking for 6 something. So when he signed for 5.5, I think a lot of people were pleasantly surprised. But for the market for him was actually was the $5 million that Marchessault signed and the $5.25 that JT Miller signed. And so that was the market. So the Wild, all these people were like ripping on me on Twitter. You said that he had them by the you-know-what. And I'm like, he got $500,000 more than market value still. Where I was saying to you, where it was becoming a problem, is that he wanted 6.5, and with Granlund at 5.75, and a year from potentially being extended, they did not want to go higher than Granlund. Or all of a sudden, what will Granlund ask if he has another huge year? Remember, nobody on this Wild team has more points than Granlund the last 2 seasons. So it's a good deal for Zucker. It puts him in a position where he's secure. It gives him also a little bit of control with his no trade clause, the final 4 years of the contract. And by the way, a lot of people have asked me why didn't he not get one the first year, thinking that the Wild are going to try to trade him and that put that in there purposely. Now they could still trade him, no doubt, but you can't get no trade or no moves any type, whether modified or full. Unless it's your UFA eligible, and his UFA eligible years. Remember, he was a year from being a UFA, so he could not get one in year 1, but he could years 2 to 5. And Dumba, we've talked about. I don't want to make Vicky upset, so we won't talk Dumba. Alec,
fire away, Alec. Don't make Vicky mad.
What determines a player's market as a contract?
Right. Well, I mean, a lot of it's age, a lot of it's years of service, a lot of it is point production in those years before. Every GM has comparables, and every agent has comparables, and they're usually way different. And then they come together, and that's why arbitration sometimes is a big tool. And in the Wild case, with Zucker, one being a year from unrestricted free agent, he would have gotten a 1-year award, and then you would never have gotten him back. He would have just said, "The hell with you guys, I'll just become a free agent next summer." Where the other thing is, on a 1-year award, they didn't know really where a guy like Zucker, goal scorers get paid in arbitration, and he has 55 goals the last 2 years, and they just didn't know where that would wind up. Especially because a guy like Granlund, say, has 5.75 right now, and he doesn't score, at least goal-wise, as much as Zucker. So they just were, I think, a little concerned on where it was. So they get him on a long-term deal here and some security here. Where Dumba, that was Shep Harder really doing his due diligence to seeing where this market's potentially going here the next 2 years with a boatload of really quality 1-2 defensemen that are going to be needing new contracts. And so, they felt that if they didn't go in a position where with Dumba, where they gave him $6 million, that if he continued on the path that he was on here the last couple of years, scoring double-digit goals here the last 3 years in a row, that all of a sudden they could be looking at a $7.5 million hockey player in the when he's become his free agent eligible years in a couple of years. So
thanks, Alec. Ken's up next. I want to tell you again, we're live at Dulono's Pizza, downtown Minneapolis, 118 North 4th Street. Of course, we like it when you come out to our shows, but come by anytime for lunch, dinner, happy hour, drinks, late night. They have a lot of big screen TVs. 118 North 4th Street, so it's walking distance to Target Field, Target Center. for concerts, sporting events, and there's a lot of parking here. There's street parking. I had an easy time finding street parking today. There's a big lot just south of Dulono's, and there's Ramp C, close walking distance as well. I also want to tell you about fixologyrepair.com. John Hedges is here today, as he is with most of our shows. Fixologyrepair.com, close by here in the Skyway, just south of the Wells Fargo Center, across from Dunn Brothers and Taco John's. Also in the Mall of America, third floor, right by